Today is our Computer 8 in third quarter, week 5. My name is Rinaldo B. Malimban. And today's lesson, we talk about designing in Illustrator. In Pathfinder effects, it can be applied to any combination of objects, groups, and layers. The final shape combination is created when you click on Pathfinder button. After that, you cannot edit the original objects. If the effect results in multiple objects, they are automatically grouped together. To open Pathfinder, click Window, and then Pathfinder, or press Shift plus Control plus F9 keys. Next is the shape. In Unite, the shape moves combines all the selected shapes and gives the appearance as if they were all joined together. Minus also shape moves combines all selected shapes and takes the top objects and removes them from the bottom most object. Intersect also move combines all the selected shapes but displays on the areas in which all the objects overlap with each other. And also the exclude. The exclude shape mode combines all selected shapes and removes the areas in which the objects overlap with each other. Let's move on for the pathfinders. The one is a divide. It separates a piece of artwork into the component filled face. A face is an area undivided by a line segment. Trim removes the part of filled object that is hidden. It removes any strokes and does not merge objects of the same color. Wraps divides artwork into the component filled faces and then deletes all parts of the artwork that all outside the boundary of the topmost object. It also removes any strokes. The outline. It divides an object into its component, line segments, or edge. This command is useful for preparing artwork that needs a trap for overprinting objects. And also the minus back. Subtracts objects in the back from the front most object. You can use this command to delete areas of illustration by adjusting the stacking order. Next is how to apply the following Pathfinder effect use. Now, if you select the object to which you want to apply the effect, to apply Pathfinder effect to group or a layer, target the group of layer. And the Pathfinder panel, click the Pathfinder button in the bottom row or Alt-click Shape button in the top row. Number 1 is brushes. We have to apply the style to the appearance of the paths. You can apply brush strokes to existing paths, or you can use the paintbrush tool to draw path and apply the brush strokes. And also the types of calligraphic brushes. It creates strokes that resemble those drawn with the angle point of calligraphic pen and draw along the center of the path. Third is the scatter brushes. It disperses copies of an object along the path. Next is art brushes. Stretch the brush shapes or object shape evenly along the length of the path. Next is the bristle brushes. It creates brush strokes with appearance of natural brush with bristles. Next is the pattern brushes. Paints a pattern made of individual tiles to fit along the path. Pattern brushes can include up to 5 tiles for the side's inner corner, outer corner, beginning and the end of the pattern. Now, how to apply the brushes? Number 1, to view the Illustrator brushes, click Window Brushes. And then, to stylize your path with brushes, follow these steps. 1 is the draw path. Second, select the path that you want to apply brush stroke. And third, choose a brush stroke from the brush panel. And And the fourth one is double click a brush stroke to edit each options. Now, how to create your own calligraphic brush. To use the following steps to create new calligraphic brush. Number 1 is to click new brush from the brush panel and select new calligraphic brush from the new brush dialog. This will open up calligraphic brush options. Number 2, change the name of the brush. 3, angle. Type a value in the angle box. This value will determine the angle of the brush. The fourth one is the roundness. Entering a number lower than 100% will produce a flatter brush. Setting the variations to random with high value will create more variations and the roundness of the brush. 5 is diameter. In diameter, entering a high value will create a larger diameter brush. And click OK to save your new calligraphic brush. Next move is how to create your own scatter brush. By create some artwork for scatter brush, gradients and effects cannot be used when creating a scatter brush. 2. Select all created artwork and drag it into the brush panel. When the new art brush dialog opens, select your scatter brush from the options to bring up the scatter brush options. 3. Change the name of the brush. 4. The size. To use the slider to define a fixed or random size of the art in relation to the original. If you want to define a random size, select random from the drop-down menu next to the size sliders. 5 is spacing. To use the slider to define fixed or random amount of the spacing between stances of the artwork. If you want to fit or define the random size, select random from the drop-down menu next to the spacing sliders. The sixth one is the scatter. In scatter, use the slider to define how far the artwork will scatter on the path the brush is applied to. Use the same option for random settings and pen tablet settings as the size and spacing. 7 is rotating. Use sliders to define how much the art will rotate as the brush is applied to the path. Use the same option for the random settings and pen tablet settings as the size, spacing, and the scatter. Number 8 is rotations relative to. Change this option so that art is relative to the page or relative to the path. Number 9 is colorizations. Set of colorizations to none, tens, or tens to shades, and row shapes, depending on how you want the color added to the original stroke art color. Number 10, click OK to save your new scatter brush. Now, let's move on for how to creating your own art brush. Number 1, create some artwork for the art brush. Gradients and effects cannot be used when creating an art brush. Number 2, select all the created artwork and click the new brush button from the brush panel. When the new art brush dialog opens, select new art brush from the options to bring up the art or brush options. Number 3, change the name of the brush. 4, direction. The direction setting sets orientation of art in relation to the path to which brush is applied. Select one of the 4 arrows to change this option. The blue arrow that appears in the preview area allows you to see how the art will be drawn on the path. Path 5 is width. Change this value to define how large the art will display in relation to the path to which the brush is applied. For the most part, you want to check the proportional box to keep the height to width ratio and change as you scale object to which the brush is applied. 6 is split along and click across. These check boxes allow you to flip the art over the horizontal and vertical axis. 7. Colorization. The colorization options are the same as the scatter brush options. And 8. Click OK to save your new art brush. Next is how to creating your own visual brush. Number 1, select new brush from the brushes panel. 2, select the visual brush option and click OK. 3, name of the visual brush. Maximum length of the brush name can be 31 characters. Number 4, shape. Select from 10 different brush models which provide the different drawing experience and appearance of bristle brush pads. 5. Size. Brush size is the diameter of brush. Specify the brush size using the slider or directly entering the size in the available text field. 6 is the bristle length. The bristle length starts from the points where the bristle meet the handle of the bristle tip. So the length of the bristles can be specified by dragging the bristle length slider or specifying the value in bristle length field. 7. Bristle density. The bristle density is the number of bristles in specified area of the brush neck. 8. Bristle thickness. The bristle thickness can vary from the part to course. Set the bristle thickness by dragging the slider or specifying the thickness value in the field. 9 is paint opacity. This option lets you set the opacity of the paint being used. The paint opacity can vary between 1% or translucent and 100% opaque. The specified opacity value is the maximum opacity used in the brush. 10. Stiffness. The stiffness implies the rigidness of the bristles. If you set lot of bristle stiffness value, the bristles are flexible. They become more rigid when you set a higher value. The bristle stiffness can range between 1% and 100%. And then, click OK to create the brush definition with the chosen settings. Now, and lastly, to creating your own pattern brush, a pattern brush can consist of 5 different pattern swatches. You can use different artwork for the start, finish, side, center, inside corner, and outside corner. Creating pattern brush with 5 pattern swatches requires you to create some pattern titles. Number 1 is to create some artwork for pattern brush. Gradients and effects cannot be used when creating a pattern brush. Number 2, select all created artwork and drag it into the brush panel. When the new art brush dialog opens, select new pattern brush from the options to bring up the pattern brush option. 3. Change the name of the brush. 4. Scale. The scale determines how big or small the art is drawn on the pad relative to the size of the art. 5. Spacing. The spacing determines the amount of spacing between the art. 6. Flip along and flip across. These check boxes allow you to flip the art over the horizontal and vertical axis. 7. Fit. The strings to fit option makes the perfect fit across the entire path. Why? Because the add space to fit changes spacing of the art so it fits evenly across the entire path. The approximate path option changes the path so it fits with the art. 8. Colorization. So the colorizations option are the same as the previous brush option. And number 9, click OK to save your new art brush. That's all for today. See you in eClass Online. Thank you and goodbye. My name is Rinaldo B.